Welcome everybody. It is currently Christmas Day and I just wanted to record a quick video just to get everybody acquainted with my new series. It's going to be called Book Bytes and this is currently episode numero uno. So thank you for checking out this video. Please subscribe if you like this content and we can get this going. So to introduce this is Book Bytes episode 1. We will be going over a book called How to Own Your Own Mind by Napoleon Hill. Now just keep in mind that this is an interview format book. It's actually a conversation between Napoleon Hill and Andrew Carnegie, who you can look him up. He's a successful steel, you could say manufacturer, visionary, and this is what the book title looks like, or the book cover. And so you can check that out on Audible, which is what I did, or you can get that at, your local bookstore. This book came to me with 3 major takeaways, so 3 main principles. So let's get right into those. Number 1, creative vision. So creative vision basically means recognizing an opportunity through imagination. So if you want to define it, it's basically a stimulation of your imagination through definite of major purpose, which puts the imagination to work. So if you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, you've already become familiar with the concept definiteness of purpose. Sorry, hard to say sometimes. But basically what this means is coming up with a purpose that is in a certain format, which Andrew Carnegie and Napoleon Hill came up with. Basically, it's saying, this is what I plan to give to the world or service, which I will in return get. So basically you say, I will give you 10 years of service for whatever service industry you're in, and this is what I expect in return. And it's an equal exchange, and it sort of formulates a way for you to come up with your purpose. An example of creative vision is Thomas Edison, and Thomas Edison is very legendary for his amount of failures, which he does not accept as failures. He basically says this. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times to create the light bulb, but what he actually said was that he just found 1,000 ways in which he simply stated, I did not fail, but I just found 1,000 steps to producing the light bulb. So if you think about this, it's sort of profound in a lot of ways, because when you think about people who are going for something and they give up on the first maybe 10 tries, we all know that failure can be pretty rough to take sometimes, but if you formulate the right way in your brain, the way that failure actually operates, you could tell yourself that, yes, I just had 10,000, however many times that you're going to fail, ways of finding out how not to do something, because it only takes one way to produce what you would like in order to be successful. So just keep that in mind. One of the stresses of creative vision is the importance of recognizing the subconscious. And the subconscious is an important concept which Andrew Carnegie will get into a little bit in this book. But it's basically what he defines as an accessible way for infinite intelligence to communicate with you. And he can't really explain how this operates. He beats around the bush a little bit by saying we don't know how this works and all that, but everybody has their own idea of infinite intelligence. It could either be God consciousness, you could call it infinite intelligence, the universe, whatever you want to say. But basically, this is accessed by the subconscious, and the subconscious is not accessible through our conscious everyday brain and mind. It's actually a deeper part, which we can only access through certain methods, which he goes into in the book, which I won't go over, but just wanted to explain that because that's where our creative vision comes from. So keeping that in mind, so just to wrap up the point, creative vision is defined as something that combines your definite purpose and imagination. Combining those two together will give you a creative vision in order to execute that. So next principle, number 2, is organized thought. And to define this, we could say it could be also associated with organized planning, which is a whole nother concept, but similar. But it's more of the organization of one's mind. So organized planning would be something like A, B, C to step 1, step 2, step 3, this is my result. Organized thought is more of a concept towards the way that you think. So These things go hand in hand, but it's a little bit different. It's defined as the systemizing of one's mind in order to make it effective and purpose activated. It's a lot of words, but basically to wrap that up, it means thinking in such a way that reason, intelligence, and just an overall skepticism is applied to your own thinking to produce a result. So this is done by repetitive use of your own mind to come up with ways in order to get to your solution, which has been driven by the definiteness of purpose. So in other words, this is someone's mind who has been given a task to work through a systematic process of achieving one's own purpose. Which is a much better effective use of your mind if you think about it, because most people may be sort of wish-washy about what they want. Now, if you just took two examples of somebody who sort of thinks they know what they want or is kind of dabbling in something, as opposed to someone who's come up with a definiteness of purpose, in other words, come up with something that has definite purpose, those two minds will operate differently. One will have worry and doubt and not really be sure of themselves, which is a problem because it's kind of creates this zigzagging motion and circles, and we all know how that goes. But this is a totally different way of thinking. It's saying, yes, my mind has been organized in such a way that it sees a destination that it wants to go and is always constantly finding the most expedient way to get there. And persistence and all these things are factoring into it. So these are 10 benefits of organized thought. I'll just read them right now. Number 1 is to become the master of your own mind. Number 2, prohibits procrastination. Number 3, working with definite plans. Number 4, stimulating the subconscious mind. 5, develops self-reliance. Number 6, benefit of knowledge, experience, and education of others. Number 7, convert efforts to greater material resources. Number 8, develop a habit of accurate analysis. Number 9, maintain sound health. And number 10, peace of mind. Now, all of these things together, maybe you don't have all 10 of these things, but what Andrew Carnegie is saying is basically when you apply yourself to this concept of organized thought and work on that those 10 benefits will come. So last but not least is the concept of controlled attention. Now we all know this is focus. And controlled attention is a magnetizing of the brain with the nature of one's dominating thoughts, which are definiteness of purpose, aims and purposes, thus causing one to be always in search of every necessary thing that is related to one's dominating thoughts. It's a bit repetitive definition. What we could say is that once you have found that purpose, that thing that drives you when you wake up and when you go to bed, that your controlled attention will allow you to recognize opportunity at a much greater rate than that of which a person does not know what they want or what their purpose is. So here's a note about controlled attention. When one controls his own attention and orients himself in such a way to carry out a single purpose, I would say he is a much happier and effective person, because you don't have these thoughts that are unuseful. You might have a little bit here and there. You have to kind of factor in that the brain likes to do its own thing every once in a while, as we know, but for the most part, it sort of stays on track. So if we have a target, that the brain can take that target, absorb it, and find ways in your life where you can use your resources and your people and your education in order to carry out that purpose. So Carnegie goes even further to illustrate the man who develops a specialty. So in the field that you're working in, you become a specialist. And he says that to be more effective and to be more successful, it is greater, or it behooves you to become a specialist as opposed to a generalist. So we can take this concept and apply it to maybe the mechanic field. If you're a general mechanic, you can probably get to a certain level, and if that's your definition of success, then great. But one who goes on to become a specialist in, let's say, Tesla or maybe Chrysler or whatever car manufacturer you can think of, and even goes even further and is a specialist in the electronics of that car or things of that nature, you're not going to find as many people who are able to do that. which in turn will translate into more opportunities, more money, things like that, because it's a level. You master the basics, you continue on, you master the next level, you master the next level, and that's not going to take away from you being able to understand the general level, but you're able to ascend to an even greater refinery of your focus. And that's sort of what Carnegie is saying, is if you use your controlled attention to scope in on your specialty and you continue to work on that it is a much better and useful way to attain success than opposed to the shotgun approach to trying maybe 10 different things. Once you find something that you enjoy, try and stick to it. That's basically what he's saying. And that goes for everything. Maybe a new workout system or a new habit of eating. If you only give it maybe a week or two and then you go on to move on to another thing, you're never actually giving that way of eating its full course. So maybe you want to say, yes, I'll give this a year or two to see how this produces results. So the last thing I want to say about this is the principle of going the extra mile, in which all these three principles kind of wrap up into. Simply explained, it's the will to do which is beyond that of currently tasked. Meaning, like, if you were tasked to sweep up a floor or take out the trash, that maybe you take out that trash and you organize the chairs at the cafeteria or whatever you're working in. And that's just a janitor example. There are plenty of examples, but going the extra mile is something that all three of these principles explain, that this is a key principle to success. Again, that's going the extra mile, which is defined as doing beyond that which you're currently tasked to do. So in summary, I believe that this book is great. I think those who have read the book Think and Grow Rich will benefit from reading this book. I think if you haven't read that book, maybe you want to go to that book first, Think and Grow Rich, which I'll probably do another episode on. But basically, you get the same principles that you get from Think and Grow Rich, namely the mastermind group principle, which is basically explaining that if you associate yourself with a group of people who have the same definiteness of purpose, that it actually ascends you to a greater level of success, and other motivational things that manipulate your psychology in order to carry out what you're trying to do. This book kind of dives deeper into those concepts and expands them out even further, gives you more of a step-by-step approach to developing your own mind around these principles. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, it is my first episode, so things will change down the road, but I just wanted to get something out, and stay tuned for more. Have a good one.